Yo, what is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Sooner Surge. And late on Saturday night, just Jay, it's just me and you on here. We're gonna be talking about the little bit of the running backs, maybe some things we've heard in the spring, because as you know, it's a very talented running back room going into this year. There's been a lot of debate on who's gonna be running back one. Is it going to be Javante Barnes? Is it going to be Gavin Sawchuk? Are we finally going to see the year for Marcus Major? Are we going to potentially see contributions from Omega Megway? Are one of the true freshmen going to really make an early impact? It really is. I wouldn't say there's kind of a lot of questions in the running back room, not based on talent or depth or anything, just who's going to be the guys there. So, Jay, I'll start off with this opening question for you. Who do you think is going to be running back one to start the year?
Well, honestly, I think it's a toss up between Barnes and Sawchuk. Going into the last game last year, if you would ask me that question, I would have said Barnes, just because he played more often last year. Didn't really see Sawchuk till the bowl game, but we saw what Sawchuk can do in that game, and I think it's going to be a competition this spring. And the thing is, the way this offense is ran, they're both going to get quite a bit of playing time. So I don't really think the RB1, RB2, I think it's a little different than what we had with Gray last year, because Gray was truly that RB1. I mean, the other guys, Barnes was so young last year as a true freshman and then Major had the injuries really. And so I think the biggest surprise to me is that Major came back. I wasn't really sure if he would transfer or he's had the nagging injury. So I thought, man, and the way Barnes and Sawchuk performed, you're thinking, okay, what's going on with Major here because of it? But he's there, so that's three guys that you can count on, I think. And then like you said, you got other guys, and I cannot pronounce his name, but the transfer last year and make say it again,
Megwa. I think it's
Emegwa, he looks the part. I mean, we'll see. So they definitely got depth there, and in Levy's style of offense, that's what Levy likes, is to have two or three guys that can run the ball. So I'm excited for it.
I think that, and then also, I know I remember this story that came out a while ago, but Gavin Sawchuk said why he committed to OU is because DeMarco told him, hey, whenever you come here, you're not going to get 25 to 30 carries. It's going to be running back by committee. You're going to get 15 to 20 carries. It's going to be split. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you said that there's not going to be a running back one now. I think we'll maybe know the guy who they may trust a little bit more. And I think early in the year that may be Javante Barnes, because we did see Gavin Sawchuk fumble in the bowl game. Now I know that was his first game playing all year and everything, but you just really saw Javante Barnes did get the carries all year behind Gray. So I do think the first snap of the year will go to Javante Barnes. He'll be the first guy to take the field. But I think him and Sawchuk, and it will be interesting to see, because we know if Marcus Major can stay healthy. We heard the comparisons of him to Adrian Peterson a couple years ago, which those were never true. I don't know why anyone would even say that. But the dude obviously has talent. Like we saw it last year against Kent State, especially before Marcus Major got hurt. He was the best back in that game. I mean, he was. He flashed so much. I mean, he made Gray look like RB2 in that game at a point. That's the only time I can really point to him saying, oh, yeah, where we saw a good or great Marcus Major.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with Major. I just don't know. I just don't know, as far as with all the injuries he's had, is he going to be able to make it through the whole season? You know what I mean? I mean, that's the one thing about him. He's such a physical runner, which is great, but just injury prone it seems to be, and nothing like serious. It's just injuries that keep him off the field. And I really think a guy just to kind of keep an eye on, and not about this year. I don't know about playing this year, but just from some stuff I've heard about spring, is Caleb Hicks. The guy,
Mm.
he wears that number 0 just like Eric Gray. Reminds me of a lot of Gray, just kind of his size and stuff. But um, I, I don't know. I mean, you got him and Smothers, and then you got, like you said, Walker. I mean, Tyree Walker. I just don't know if I see a spot for him. I know short yardage, but when you got guys like Barnes who can also pound it in the short yardage, and I mean, I just don't know about Walker getting much playing time.
No, for sure. And I love that you made that comparison of Caleb Pitt because I remember whenever I watched this film, whenever he committed, I'm like, there's no way this dude shouldn't be a top 250 prospect in the country. He honestly probably should have been rated higher than Dalen Smothers, in my opinion. And I think there's the perfect comparison for him is Eric Gray. I mean, he's such a patient runner. He's a natural back like Eric Gray was. You just see the way he maneuvers through cuts. Now, I don't expect him to get on the field this year, but I mean, last year, no one would have ever said that Javante Barnes would be getting snaps. So, I mean, you
Yeah,
never
you
know
never
what can
know,
happen.
and you
It
never know
really
with
isn't.
injuries. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. With injuries too, and
I'm
people
excited
also.
this running game with Seth Luttrell also being on the staff. I mean, you got Seth
Yeah,
Luttrell, his run game. You got him with Levy and with Beatenbow. I mean, I am pumped to see what this running game is going to do this year. I really am.
uh, and then I don't know if you've seen many of the clips from the spring practice that everyone's been tweeting out, but Bill Beatonbaugh, apparently the point of emphasis this offseason is that they need to get back to that nasty line in the run game. Last year, we saw some improvements in the run game for sure, but I think the offensive line can go up a whole nother level and helping in the run game. And then I think kind of the X factor in this room to me is Gavin Sawchuk. Because if we see like that constant speed burst that we know he has, but if he can put his game together, I don't see any way by the end of the year now. I know at the beginning of last year I was super high on Javante Barnes saying I don't think there's any way Sawchuk could overtake him. But after watching Sawchuk in that bowl game, I
Well,
just
it's
don't know.
almost like thunder and lightning with those two. I mean,
Oh
you
yeah, it is.
with Sawchuk, what you get is you get the speed, breakaway speed, the home run hitter that we all know. Gray was not that home run hitter. He could break it for 20 or 30, but to go 90 just wasn't going to happen, speed wise. Sawchuk is that guy with speed, and what we saw in the game in the bowl game is his vision. I mean, he when he spots the hole, he's very quick through it, and he also is pretty physical for his size. I mean, from that game, Barnes is an extremely physical back, and I mean, I don't know, I'd have to pull up the stats, but Barnes, as a true freshman, had a good year. So that's going to be the 1-2 punch right there, I think. And then we'll see about the other guy that transferred in last year. Like I said, he's built
Yeah,
different. He looks the part. Now we'll see, and I'm anxious to see what he does in spring. I really am. We're now sitting here, what, 3.5 weeks from spring game, something like that.
yeah,
So yeah, so just interested to see how he fits in, and I think this is going to be an exciting group. To me, this will be the biggest strength probably on offense. May be the running back group. I know there's some receivers, and the receiving group's high, but I think in this offense, the way Levy likes to run the ball, this group could have a massive year. Those two
yeah,
in
for sure.
particular. And we'll see about Major.
Last year,
I just don't know. He might Major. I mean, he could have a great spring and be one of the top two. I mean, I don't know. It's just so hard to tell with him just because of his lack of playing time last year and his health. So we'll see.
yeah, last year Javante Barnes as a true freshman had 116 carries for 519 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he did have a very productive freshman year. He was able to get experience. Him and Sawchuk both got great experience in that Cheez Bowl. I don't experience is something that you can never get enough of from a player because Sawchuk and Barnes were both getting carries late in that game when it was close. And now I wouldn't say Sawchuk is why they lost the game, but he did have a crucial fumble and important part of the game.
Well,
I mean, he did.
we also got to remember Sawchuk came in summer last year. He did
Yeah,
not come in early. Big difference. Big difference with Barnes. So that was a big difference. And I kind of look at it a little bit. I'm going to throw a comparison as far as the defensive side of the ball. Now, this guy played last year, Jaron Kanak. He played last year in some games, but he didn't play near the end of the year. And a lot of it was he was just learning the defense. getting ready for this next year. I kind of see that a lot in Sawchuk, learning the offense, played him in the bowl game, but he had all last year to basically shine on the Future Freaks games and all the, scout team and all that. And he really probably shined really big in those. And now you're going to see him probably this year take that next step.
That's true. And I mean, I don't really know. I don't know if you can expect 1,000-yard rushers. Now that would be awesome, but that's just such high expectations for both of them.
Yeah, but how many yards did they rush for last year as a team? Running back wise. Do you know?
I think Gray had like 1,300 yards, close to that.
Yeah, so Barnes almost 600, so they almost had 2,000 between them.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I mean, if those two guys are the two dudes, they could get 1,000 yards each. I mean, honestly.
And then, yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, I think Lebby's last year at Ole Miss they had 3, didn't they? They get 1,000.
They had 2 1,000-yard rushers.
Maybe they just had 2.
I think they had 3 above 600 is what it was.
Yeah, I mean, he likes to spread the ball around a little bit. So
realistic, yeah.
Yeah.
And then people also, I mean, the running back room is really with the recruiting, how DeMarco has been recruiting there lately. It's just going to keep on improving because, I mean, they have a chance to bring in a guy like Caden Durham, who's a lot like Deuce Vaughn. I mean, I know this isn't a recruiting video, but Xavier Robinson, who knows where he'll play. And
well, we got to talk about Hollywood Smothers. I mean, when we were talking about earlier, I was talking about speed. He's a home run threat right there. That's the home run threat, big time. So you never know with him. Also, I don't, McCown kid, the guy can play. The guy can play ball, and so not saying he'll play this year, but I just think the development of the running back room, when you look at that, other than Major and Walker, the other guys will be in the program for at least 2 more years. So, I mean, so you got some talent there that is going to really, really help this offense for sure. My biggest thing on Barnes probably just going into the year will be his pass catching ability, because we know that Eric Gray was the guy for OU last year catching the ball out of the backfield. So who's going to be that guy?
Yeah,
that's the biggest question in my opinion for the whole running back.
Eric Gray was great catching out of the backfield too.
That's what I'm saying.
Average back, yeah.
Yeah. So who's that guy this year? I mean,
you don't know.
Out of the 3 we talked about with Barnes, Sawchuk, and Major, who would you say probably is going to excel in that? I don't know at this point. I would probably guess Sawchuk, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know much about their pass catching ability. We haven't really seen it. Barnes, we didn't see a whole lot last year. I bet he didn't catch but a handful of passes. And so that'll be interesting to see, because Lebby does like to use the running back out of the backfield. So that'll be very important to see how they use that.
Mm-hmm. It also is crazy to think at the beginning of last year, we were talking about who's going to be running back 2. Now we're talking about, are there going to be 3 or 4 running backs playing? And it just speaks to the depth of what Brent Venables and DeMarco Murray have.
The depth, and DeMarco Murray, like you said, DeMarco Murray on this recruiting trail, to me, there's 3 guys on this. Well, I could say more than that probably, but there's some guys that stand out in recruiting right now. Brandon Hall, DeMarco Murray, and Jay Valai, to me, have kind of just been really dominating the recruiting trail for OU staff. I mean, you also got Chavis and a bunch of guys, but I'm just saying those 3 to me kind of stand out right now. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, I'm excited to watch the running backs this year. It's going to be an interesting, I would almost say 1-2 punch is what it's going to be. I don't think we can have, don't call it a RB1 this year like last year. Just don't think we're going to see that. Eric Gray to me was just a step above everybody else last year.
Yeah. And see, I'll go out on a limb and say this, but I think Gavin Sawchuk by the end of the year will have more yards, but I think Javonte Barnes will have more touchdowns.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I could see that. I could see that. I think what we're going to see is I really think we're going to see more long touchdown runs this year. That's what I think, because I think the breakaway ability of Sawchuk will lend itself to some longer runs for touchdowns that we just didn't have with Gray. I mean, Barnes could take it to the house too, but I think Barnes more that physical in the middle runner, and Sawchuk can get out on the edge a little bit. And I think we're going to see some. I would say last year, I don't know, I'd have to look it up, but how many runs over 50 yards, TD runs? Probably not. I don't know. Was there any? But this year, I think we're going to see a couple from Sawchuk. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I think it definitely is an exciting room. I think we pretty much have covered it all. I mean, I think that this year in OU football, it's nice to know that okay, there is much high expectations. And I'll say one more thing before we get off here. I believe that Dylan Gabriel did have the longest touchdown run for OU last year.
Oh
If I
yeah,
remember,
against Nebraska.
it wasn't even Eric Gray or anything. I mean, Gabriel took that like 60 yards. I think it was
Well,
like
and
50.
and to be honest, the running game this year, they should be able to run Gabriel more with a backup quarterback
Oh
now.
yeah,
Or I
that's
mean, I'm not even going to say. I
that's
mean,
true.
from what I've heard from from some people is that Jackson Arnold may push. I mean, he's very
Oh,
strong as far as the players know it, the coaches know it, they see it. He's the real deal. So I mean,
mhm.
we'll talk about quarterback another time, but um, just just know, and also Arnold can run really well if he gets in there. So the
Exactly.
quarterback run game, I think, needs to be used more. I know we're talking about running backs, but the quarterback run game in this offense, you saw it at Ole Miss with Corral. Levy needs the quarterback to run a little bit more, so we'll see that. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers running backs. So yeah, we're
Yep.
going to be doing these. We've done wide receiver, now running back, and we'll have another one for you later this week. But make sure you all subscribe to the channel, YouTube channel here. Hit the subscribe button. Also follow us on the Sooner Surge and Surge Sports Network, where you can catch all our articles, OU wise, and we also have other writers on there covering other SEC teams and other sports. So just check it out for sure. Thanks again for listening. Jackson, Boomer.
Peace.
See you.